Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
What is going on, CaneSport, and good morning to you all. It is Friday, January 5th, 2024, and I would like to thank everyone for joining us on Good Morning CaneSport. Today, I'm joined by Matt Shodell, and we have the return of Steven Wagner, a.k.a. The Stash. Welcome back, Steven. Plenty of Miami Hurricanes news for you this morning, so let's get right into it. We have our breaking news about Miami signing defensive coordinator Lance Guidry to a contract extension with a significant pay raise to keep him down at Coral Gables for the next 3 years. There were some rumors swirling that he might be looking at other programs. Other programs are looking to poach him from Miami, but they have now locked in the defensive coordinator for the years to come. Matt,
Lance Guidry, obviously, Miami needed to keep him. A lot of rumors that he was going to go to LSU. Obviously, he's from Louisiana. It made a lot of sense. If just like Mario had his dream job at Miami, which may turn into a nightmare, may not, as of now, it's to be determined. I'm hoping for the dream and not the nightmare, obviously, because it's more fun to cover a good team and it's nice to have all the fans that I know be happy. But in terms of Lance Guidry, LSU certainly could be considered starting as a defense coordinator being his dream job. I mean, he was a Marshall defense coordinator prior to coming to Miami, so Miami was his big break. And then to have a chance to even be in the LSU conversation to be a coordinator is a pretty big deal. And I do love the defense he runs. Tends to confuse quarterbacks. It's a really aggressive style where defensive ends get to cover, linebackers are blitzing and covering, safeties are doing everything. And it's really, to me, it's all about getting recruits that want to be able to show how versatile they are. And this is a great way to get 5-star recruits that think they can do everything. If a defensive lineman, you tell defensive end, hey, you're also going to be covering one-on-one down the field, in some situations, they'll be like, hey, I'll show the NFL that I can do that too. So I think it's great. But the only caveat is, there were so many players he had this year that he won't have next year. Cam Kinchens and James Williams, to Corey Couch and Jaden Davis. That's 4 starting guys in the secondary. He loses Leonard Taylor and Branson Dean as 2 starting defensive tackles and one of his part-time starting linebackers, KJ Cloyd. You add it all up. I'm not so good at math, but I think that's 7 of 11 starters, or whatever, 6.5, 11 starters, I guess. So that's a lot of lost production. And, you see him getting a Savion Riley in the portal, who we have today on our top 30 for 30 list, guys who played 30 reps last year that are on our top 30. But, is he a free agent? I don't think so. He's coming from the SEC and he started, but it was at Vanderbilt, which – it's Vanderbilt. He was a 3-star recruit. It's a year later. Is he really all of a sudden like this amazing prospect? Probably not. But will he be good enough as a safety? Probably. So, I think he'll start. But Lance Guidry's going to have to really scheme around some of the weaknesses he may have on defense, depending what else Miami can get out of the portal. But it is a big deal keeping him because I think he's the best. Well, he and Manny Diaz are probably the 2 best defensive coordinators, maybe since Miami was winning championships. I mean, Manny Diaz is a great coordinator. I don't think he's a very good head coach because I don't think he enjoys recruiting. And, he's like the opposite of Mario as a head coach recruiter, honestly. And I'm telling you that because I know that for a fact. Like, that's a fact. I don't care. People say, that's your opinion. No, it's a fact. I saw Manny Diaz up close and personal, how he recruits and interacts with prospects. I've seen the same with Mario. They are opposites.
Oh, yeah, I think keeping Lance Guidry down here is kind of great news for Miami and all this transfer portal turmoil stuff and things like that. But, Steven, I want to ask you, we see coordinators and coaches in and out of doors, in the offseason kind of, rapidly and at a high rate without, kind of telling kids just how important recruiting-wise is to keep Lance Guidry and, not have him leave right after, the early signing period ends and the transfer portal closes with these top guys committed to Miami.
I definitely think that being able to maintain coordinators year over year and have that sense of stability is something that is going to matter to a lot of recruits. But to me, kind of the thing that I look at is whenever these coordinators go elsewhere, are they being poached by bigger schools for better opportunities? Are they getting head coaching gigs? Or are these issues where Miami is having to say, hey, things aren't working out for whatever reason, and we feel like a change needs to be made. Because I mean, you see this all the time at Alabama. Alabama has a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator. It feels like every other year. But that's because most of their offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators are getting NFL jobs, or they're the first hires for head coaching jobs. You've got defensive coordinators that are constantly being interviewed. You've got offensive coordinators that are supposed to be the next young hot thing. So I think if these are guys that are genuinely finding better opportunities, if Kevin Steele, for instance, let's say over at Alabama, let's say he gets the opportunity to interview to be the next head coach at, I don't know, Washington. I'm just throwing out random schools. If Kevin Steele gets a good interview, gets a good opportunity to interview for a new head coaching job somewhere else, and he takes that opportunity, it's never going to be held against Nick Saban for having a coach that decided to take another opportunity. I mean, it's the difference between losing your players to the NFL draft and losing them to the transfer portal. Are they leaving your program because they think the grass is greener on the other side and they're ready to go ahead and test their luck at the next level? Or is this going to be some sort of issue where things aren't working out here, you're unhappy, and your first thought is, man, I have a lot of value, and I think that I will be more valuable going elsewhere. So I know that's kind of a long-winded answer, but I really think that
Even Wagner with a long-winded answer? No.
Oh my God! I wonder who could have possibly taught me that. Matt. Here I am with so little of a voice that I'm having to talk over my dry freaking throat to be able to spit out some words. And you're here absolutely trying to destroy my value.
Let's look at the empirical data, Stephen. One of the two of us is long-winded. And by long-winded, it means you talk a lot and probably lose your voice all the time. Have I ever lost my voice on this show? I mean, I had COVID. I couldn't talk for a couple of days, but that was COVID. You have no excuse. You just happen to be like covering the All-American Bowl, hanging out with people out in Texas. Long-winded, I think the proof is in the pudding, which is a phrase you probably don't know where it came from. But it is what it is. By the way, I've made homemade pudding, Bird's Pudding. I highly recommend it. I don't know. Is that one of our sponsors now? Bird's Pudding. You can't wear it. Gary Furman can't talk about it. You can't get it in Miami. It's British, but it's delicious.
Who's to say that I didn't lose my voice coaching at the All-American Bowl? Who's to say that I'm not going to be the ones calling plays for Nye Carr on Saturday?
Well, let me tell you, Bird's Pudding would actually help fix your sore throat. It coats the inner vocal cords, which are obviously very distressed by your constant speaking. So I highly recommend it. Give it a shot. You can get it on Amazon. I just looked at Amazon. Here you go. 250 gram. What is it, like drugs? It's in the grams. It's like cocaine. 250 grams of custard for $12.50. How much is 250 grams of cocaine? It's probably about the same price. Steven, you would know.
I'm going to have you buy that stuff for me. I mean, I've seen your paycheck, man.
Getting paid the big ones.
I'm still trying to get my NIL deal.
Listen, I'm looking at this great Bird's custard powder. I'm telling you, I have made it. I love Bird's custard, but their slogan is "You make it special," which makes no sense because if you have to advertise that I'm the person who has to make your product special, I'm never going to buy your product. So I highly recommend that they change that slogan. I don't understand what it even means, and also change custard powder. Nobody wants custard powder. Just say, change it to like custard ingredients. Nobody wants powder and nobody wants to have to make it special by themselves. It should already be special. You're welcome, Bird's Custard, our new sponsor.
Man, I feel like the Bird's Custard is a perfect transition to our next topic with making.
Thank you. Special. We can talk about football again. For the love of God, thank you.
I think Bird's Custard paid Matt for that because our next big story on the site is our hit or miss series where we see if Miami coaches can make recruits special or something kind of along those lines. We just take a look at
what a segue. You're so much better than Furman. It's like not even close.
I try.
Furman is like a Bird's Custard slogan, and you are like a Miami Hurricanes ibis.
Thank you. But last year we kind of took a look at the hit or miss and determined if 60% of a class was a hit, that's a successful rate, and if not. So Matt, you did another great job of getting in the lab, cooking up some custard and statistics and all that good stuff. So kind of talk a little bit about the hit or miss story that you have on the site.
All right. And by the way, I was born in Britain, so that's why I like Bird's custard. I think a lot has to do with that. And a lot of my mental problems, if you know the British people, you understand, like, they have, Monty Python, come back here, I'll bite your head off. That whole, people think weird stuff's funny if you're British. So that's why I have so many problems. I still consider myself British, even though I lived there for 3 years. I consider myself a dual citizen because when I was 3 years old, I moved here. And then apparently I didn't talk for like 2 years because I had a weird accent. But anyway, that's another story for another day. So yeah, in terms of our hit or miss series, we started this last year because a year ago On3 ran a whole analysis and they found that the top programs in the country had what they called a 60% hit rate. And their definition of hit rate in that analysis that they did not for the Hurricanes, but nationally, it involved any player in a particular recruiting class that started for multiple years. It doesn't matter if they started one game in 2019 and one game in 2020, that's considered a hit. That's just the formula they used. And they found that for teams that were top tier teams, they were able to basically keep together a core of players that would start multiple years and be successful that way. It makes some sense in that, you can't have guys who are good for 1 year and are gone. You do want guys that can play for 2 or 3 years and be productive for you as starters. It makes sense to me, because that's basically developing recruits. And then guys replace each other, play for a couple of years, go to the NFL, start for a couple of years, go to the NFL, have other guys behind them that come in, not guys that are constantly being churned out one after the other or transferring out. Now you got to replace them with transfers. It makes sense to that extent. So we applied that to Miami. And this year, we're going to kick off the series really tomorrow, but today's the intro to it. And I've already started doing some of the research. I'm going to tell you right now, they're not hitting 60% at Miami, okay? Mario inherited, and I haven't looked at 2022 yet. I think 2020, was it the 2022 class was the one where he sort of came in and inherited it and saved it? Was that what it was when he came in early December?
Jakari Brown class and those guys.
2022 class. So I don't really even consider that his first class. So all I've got up through is that because he's helped save that class, but he wasn't able to do a full cycle of recruiting anybody. But I have looked at 2020, 21, and 2022 so far, just briefly as I'm starting to work on the series. And I will tell you that they're nowhere near 60%. They're in the 30s and 40s. There was one class that I looked at yesterday. I don't know which class it was, but this is crazy. You know what? I sent Gary a memo about it. I'll tell you right now. This is nuts, but this is true. Let me look at my one email I sent to Gary in the last 6 years. Here it is. All right, the class of 2020. This is what I said. I titled it, "This is Nuts." That's literally what I titled my email to Gary. Okay. I said, I'm working on the 2020 recruiting class for our hit or miss series, and 75% of the players that were in that class, including transfers into the program, wound up transferring out. I wrote, no wonder Mario had a tough first year. That's nuts with how bad the prior evaluation and recruiting was. That was my unadulterated email, very private email that I don't share it with anybody, okay? But can you imagine 75% of a class transferred, didn't go pro, didn't graduate and wind up wherever, like they transferred. And that includes guys who came in just for 1 year as transfers and then were gone to the pros. 75% of a class transferred out. That's insane. And that's what Mario was dealing with. That was supposed to be the bulk of his first year here. They were going to be, I think, third-year players that first year he was here. And as of now, 75% of that class has gone in the wind to other places.
That's insane.
Oh, that's the sort of stuff we'll be looking at. Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's really crazy because, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people or fans and things like that are just like, we need results right away. But kind of when you take a deeper look in the 2020 class and you see 75% of those guys are gone, those are supposed to be your juniors and seniors or juniors and leaders, in your program now. So that's pretty interesting to see when you crunch the numbers how bad or how.
I mean, I will add, I just made up that number. I didn't actually look at it. I don't do any work, but I just make up numbers that sound good. And no, it was 75%. It was terrible.
You could have told me it was 100%. I'd have believed you. I watched it. No, I won't say anything too crazy now, but we'll leave the past in the past and focus on the future. And Steven, you saw all of Miami's future, a large part of it in San Antonio these past few days at the All-American Bowl from watching these signees these past 2 days, I know you had guys like Justin Scott, Marquise Lightfoot, Nikar, and a bunch of those guys have been looking really good. Just what are your overall thoughts on those past 2 days you spent in San Antonio?
After seeing Justin Scott in person for the first time, I can tell you he is a lot bigger and a lot more daunting once you see him in pads and cleats than I thought that he was just getting to watch his tape. He is extremely explosive. He, without a doubt, is going to be he, without a doubt, is a 5-star defensive tackle. I think that there really is an argument to be made that he's been the best lineman on the offensive or defensive side at this entire All-American Bowl practice. And you've got 4- and 5-star defensive linemen on both sides of the ball. You've also got LJ McCray right next to him, and then you've got guys like Nair Daniels on the other sides. And I think Justin Scott, there's a really, really strong argument that he's been the best out of all of them. This is literally a bowl of all Americans. And I think that Justin Scott has still found a way to stand out in like a really, really massive way. I mean, he's been borderline unblockable. He really has. He's been really, really great at defensive tackle. I really think he's going to make his money at the 3 technique, although they've also actually stood him up and had him come off the edge in like a handful of different packages. I wouldn't expect to see that a crazy amount at Miami, but I absolutely think that that's in the cards if they want to put him off the edge. I think that Justin Scott is so special, and I talked to some people about this, that I think if he was an offensive lineman, if he was being recruited as an offensive lineman, I think he would be a top 10 offensive lineman in the country. I really, really do. And then on the other side, I think that if he was going to be a true edge in this year's class, I really do think that he would probably be a top 10, top 15 edge. He really is that good. He's that big. He's that fast. He's that strong. He's that physical. And he combines the speed and aggression of an edge of an elite edge rusher with the power, strength, and explosiveness of an elite defensive tackle. I think that this kid is beyond better than I already thought that he was. He will be a star. I have no doubt that he should be a starter at Miami. He is way more than good enough to be a starter day one at Miami next year.
Yeah, I've always loved what I've seen from Justin Scott, and I spoke with his head coach back in Chicago, and he's always told me, the second that kid stepped foot on a football field his freshman year, they knew they had a special talent. 6'5", 300 pounds, dunks basketballs, is a good basketball player. Started on the O-line, played defensive line where he shines now, scored a few touchdowns. So an all-around guy. And if you kind of look at Miami's last 2 classes in that defensive line room, man, does Jason Taylor and Joe Salavea have some guys to, play with over the next few years. And hopefully they're not guys that we see hop in the portal like that 2020 class and be a 75, portal jumping rate or whatever that number was Matt put together. But very good to hear that those Miami guys are shining out in San Antonio. But, earlier this week, Miami had a few guys at the Under Armour All-American game in Orlando, Florida, and those guys did really, really well. Had the chance to speak with them prior to the contest and had the chance to watch them a little bit throughout the weekend. A few guys that were kind of under the radar guys coming in really shine and became guys to know names. And a few of those guys were Ryan Mack and Booker Pickett, as well as Josiah Trader, who were stars in that game on Team Ice that picked up a big, big victory. Steven, you spoke with the recruiting and scouting experts at On3, Charles Powers and Cody Belair. What a lot of good things to say about those 3 guys whose stock rose during that All-American game. Just what were your thoughts about, their performances in Orlando? What did those guys have to say about the trio of Hurricanes?
Yeah, it does sound like Ryan Mack and Booker Pickett are most likely going to climb in the next On3 rankings update. Ryan Mack, Cody Belair, one of the scouting and rankings guys, he told me that he thought that Ryan might be the most technically proficient cornerback at the Under Armour All-American camp. Like, he can't remember seeing him out of position. He can't remember seeing him get, really, really badly beat. He's contesting every ball. He's running with receivers. He has really, really deceptive top end speed. I don't think enough people really understand just how fast he is. He's going to play nickel at Miami, but he got work at corner, and he was really able to lock up a lot of really, really elite top tier receivers this week at Under Armour. And then Booker Pickett, coming off the edge, he's only about 6'2", 185. He is a little bit of a smaller guy. However, you will not find a better pure speed rusher in this class. He understands that his superpower, his strength, is having an explosive first step and being able to beat offensive tackles right off the ball. Now, I don't think that he's going to be quite ready to, come in and be that, immediate starter like, we're thinking Justin Scott probably will be able to. I think that Booker is definitely going to need to add some weight. I'm kind of curious to see if Miami's going to keep him as a true stand-up edge, if they're going to put him at outside linebacker a little bit, just how specifically they're going to play with using him in different packages. But he is a guy who I also would definitely expect to climb, because he was consistently one of the best players overall, all around, at the Under Armour camp or at the Under Armour practices. I think a lot of that just has to come from having frankly really good coaching for a really long time, obviously coming from a football family, being a Miami legacy. He's been around a very high level of football for a very, very long time. I think it's still kind of too early to say just how specifically I see him fitting in at Miami, because I do think that he's a guy, because of his kind of unique frame, that he could be moved around a decent amount if Miami wanted to. But I also see a reality where, he adds 25 pounds and they tell him, hey, man, stand up and just rush the passer. Because, yeah, he definitely is going to need to add weight. But, I mean, man, you are not going to find a better pure speed rusher in this class.
Yeah, I feel like you always kind of, when you talk about the top guys, you're always trying to find an elite trait or something that they do extremely well. And for Booker Pickett, for as long as I can remember, everyone said, hey, this kid has the best get off I've ever seen. This kid has the best get off in the country. He's had over 50 sacks in the last 2 years. And, finally seeing him display that to the country is awesome. I feel like that's something Miami Hurricanes fans should be really, really excited about. Like you mentioned, he does have a few things that he has to work on, his weight and things like that. But other things you can fix, and that talent is something you can't, teach a kid or anything like that. So very excited for Pickett and the rest of those 2024 guys headed to Coral Gables. And to wrap up today's show, we're going back to the King of England, Matt Shodell, who came here when he was 3 years old. We're going to talk a little bit about your 30 for 30 series. You spoke about this young man a little bit earlier in the show. Transfer safety Savion Riley. Got some big shoes to fill with Cam Kitchens and James Williams, out the mix in the secondary. Just for a grand scheme of things, what are your thoughts on Savion Riley? I know he's not the big free agent you want, but just what are some things that you think he can do for Miami in a positive light?
Yeah, I mean, I already sort of talked about him, but what I will say is, this is a 30 for 30 series, and it's not made in a vacuum. I mean, Gary and I already went over the 30 players that we think belong on the list. We've ranked them. It's a surprise to everybody, but believe it or not, we actually do our homework. We don't just say, hey, who's today's number? Who should be number 22? Who should be number 21? Like, we already went over it, got the whole thing put together. And as I'm looking at our top secret list here, that even Izubee and Steven don't know what it is, I would say that after the top, I'm looking right now, after the top 8 to 10 guys, maybe even 11, there's just, you just look at this and there's just another guy. Like, you don't know if they're going to be really good or not, and I don't know. Henry Parrish, for instance, I'll tell you right now, I'll give you a little insight. Okay, Henry Parrish, we have him at number 17. Matthew McCoy, we have at number 19. Like, are these guys who are going to dominate? Henry Parrish, if Mark Fletcher is healthy, is probably a backup, right? Matthew McCoy, he was a backup to Luis Cristobal Jr. in the bowl game. And Luis Cristobal Jr. was a backup at a minor program, heading here until I think maybe sort of 1 year before he got here or whatever. So these are guys with massive question marks. So as you look through, you'll look through the series after we finish with it. But I mean, as you look at it and you have maybe literally 11, maybe 12 difference makers, maybe even ACC difference makers. And your team, you obviously you play, 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense. Special teams guys are included. So you're talking about 24 guys. Only half the team, if that, is difference makers. And now you're not even talking about depth. So, I'm a big proponent of recruiting and development and taking your lumps when you have to, and then using the portal for free agents. But this is now year 3. And to me, it's now or never for Mario in this program, because you cannot go into year 3 and finish with 7 wins or 6 wins or 5 wins. You just can't. You cannot do that and expect to still have boosters shelling out millions of dollars, big boosters shelling out millions of dollars, and recruits trusting you to develop them and win championships, which is what recruits want. So, I'm sort of torn now, because I know the roster numbers are tight, but you've got to win whatever it takes in 2024. He's run out of what I wanted to do the first 2 years, which was just take recruits, stop worrying about the portal. He wasted 20 plus scholarship spots out of his 85 in a 2-year span on portal guys who were here for a year or two and are gone, or have just been backups, other than some guys who were really good for their year or two and are gone. But who cares if they were so great for a year or two when you go 5-7 and 7-6? That's my whole point. I'd rather take my lumps and go 4-8 and 5-7. Nobody cares that you went 5-7 and 7-6. Sorry, 7-6. Nobody cares. That's not a success. I'd rather go 4-8 and 4-8 and have a really great base of young talent that's really been developed over 2 or 3 years, and just another bunch of guys who are here for a year or two. So I don't know the answer now. It's not a great situation. It's not a top talented, top depth team yet. And I'm concerned because they need to win 10 games next year, in my opinion, to really get this thing going, get Miami fans excited. You've got to win 10 games in your 3rd year of this ridiculously large contract, with all the coordinators you hired yourself that you really wanted, got rid of the ones your first year, brought in the coaching staffs you wanted, paying them, what you should, unlike the prior Miami staffs that were always underpaid perpetually. It's got to just happen this coming year. This is it to me. I predicted 8 wins 2 years ago. I predicted 8 wins this year. I'm just an optimist, Izubee. You know me. I'm an optimist. I predicted more wins than I got both years, because that's me. I'm always pie in the sky. Everything's going to be great. 8 wins, 8 wins.
I'm going to start calling Mr. 8 wins. Mr. 8.
That's the truth. I predicted 10 wins for next year. I'm sticking with 10 wins for next year. The schedule's not too difficult. No, the team's not championship level. But you know what? They might sneak into the playoffs, just because they're not going to lose a lot of games against teams that aren't that good. Florida's not good, and Florida State is losing a ton of talent. And those are your 2 toughest games. Their non-conference schedule is ridiculous. Ridiculously easy, not ridiculously hard. So, as you look at the 30 for 30, you'd be who are the difference makers? You got some guys who are really good, and but can they stay healthy? Akeem Messidor has perpetually been hurt. So, he's number 2 on our list. I'll give you that breaking news. So guys have to stay healthy. They have to be productive, and you need a quarterback. You need a top quarterback. I think that can alleviate a lot of the problems. And obviously the Cam Ward situation, Will Howard's off the board. Those were the 2 guys they wanted. And it was Cam Ward as choice 1, and Will Howard was pretty far down the list as choice 2. They were just going to wait for, Cam Ward as long as it took. I think if they had just gone after Will Howard as their only choice, he'd already be here. It didn't work out that way. And now they're sort of caught between a rock and a hard place. And I was talking to Gary about it yesterday, and I'm like, you know what? I'm looking around at what's in the portal, and they may wind up getting this UNLV guy, or they may wind up getting, whatever, that Liberty guy, whatever. I don't think either of those guys are so good. The Liberty guy, the best team he played, he was awful against in the bowl game. And the UNLV guy's just okay to me. I don't think he's that much better than Tyler Van Dyke was, just in terms of being able to move the ball down the field. So like I said to Gary, they might be better off waiting until the second portal window and not having a quarterback in spring ball who's going to be their guy. And yeah, it's not great to miss those 15 practices, but if you're not getting a stud quarterback in the portal and you just rush into it now because you have 2 weeks before you have to enroll for the spring semester and you want someone there for the spring to practice and we'll figure it out later. No, they need, because they're going to have to pay a lot of money to get whoever it is, they need to get the right guy quarterback. And if that means waiting for the second portal window or getting a graduate who can transfer whenever he wants, by the way, a top graduate quarterback who just goes in the portal and tries to weigh his options that way and see how much money he can get, which is fine. We're a professional sport now. I would rather wait. I know who's still out there. I'm not sold on those guys. I would rather wait based on what I see out there at quarterback right now. So I'm curious to see if Mario agrees with me or not, because Mario stubbornly held out for Cam Ward, as he should have, because Cam Ward was the by far the best option. By far. Like, if that guy wanted to wait until, like, the last day to enroll at Miami, I'm like Mario. I'm like, I'll wait. Dude, I'll wait. Like, he's the guy who takes you to the playoffs. If he was here, he'd take them to the playoffs. He's a legit first to third round NFL talent, in my opinion. And yeah, he went out too early. He'd probably be a third to fifth rounder. But if he came to Miami and had a good year, he would have been a first to third rounder. That's how good that guy is. So you wait for that. And now it's not a great situation, and fans can blame Mario. I don't blame Mario. I would have done the same damn thing. You want to make your team great, not just good. You want to be great, and a great quarterback, an elite quarterback. That was Cam Ward. It didn't work. It didn't work out. And now you got to find the next elite quarterback, and I don't see one right now. So again, not to repeat myself like Steven does all the time, but you got to wait, man. You got to wait and get the right guy. And if that means second portal window. I'm fine with that.
So long story short, Savion Riley is not the guy for Matt Shodell. We need a quarterback.
I talked about him earlier. He's not a free agent. I already said that. I'm not going to hammer on the poor kid. He's a nice guy. I have nothing against him. He started at Vanderbilt. Congratulations. He helped them get to 4 wins, 3 wins, whatever. Good for him. And Miami needs safeties desperately. I think Marquise Williams will start. And I think they need someone probably better than Savion Riley to be the other starter. But, maybe Savion will be the guy. They got Caleb Spencer. I really like Caleb Spencer. Like, you look at Caleb Spencer in practices last year before we were banned because somebody took a video that they weren't supposed to. Wasn't us. But you look at Caleb Spencer, man. He dwarfs James Williams. Cam Kinston was never big in the first place. James Williams was a big safety. Caleb Spencer, when you stand him up next to James Williams, man, you're like, who's that? And I knew who he was. But if you were just a fan, you'd be like, who's that guy? Like, he passes the look test. He can move. It's really just about him understanding what to do. It would not shock me if it's Caleb Spencer and Marquise Williams as the 2 starting safeties if Miami doesn't take a portal guy. And right now, Miami's just hamstrung. They're still 4 over the scholarship limit for the spring. They got 2 weeks to jettison some guys, and they still want to add some more portal guys. And it's just like, it's going to be difficult. Whatever they wind up doing is not going to be easy decisions, period. But I do know they're being very judicious with their transfer portal takes right now, because their roster is really young, and it's hard to say goodbye to a freshman or sophomore when you don't really know how good they're going to be. Like, who wants to see a guy go to another program and be great because you got rid of him too soon? They didn't recruit these guys. The freshmen and sophomores are Mario's guys. They don't want to get rid of those guys unless it's obvious that they're not going to cut it here. And Collins was one of them. Collins, I know they didn't think he lived up to their expectations and that he wasn't going to be the right fit here. That was not a case of Collins being like, oh, I'm going to take a money grab and go, out west. It was, he wasn't going to fit here, wasn't really good enough for what they wanted, championship level football. And so, you can call it mutual or whatever, but like, that's what happened there. But in general, you want to get rid of the older guys where you just say, hey, you're going to be a second, third teamer. You're a junior, senior. Like, how much more upside is this guy going to have, right? Not saying it's that guy, but like, that's the truth. Bring in a young guy and develop them. So I think that's sort of the rationale. And I don't think there's going to be a ton more transfers. I'm hoping, because every transfer you take, got to get rid of somebody, and there's only so few juniors and seniors right now you can get rid of.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, when we were talking about that, I was going to say, like, that one song in either the 80s or 90s, another one bites the dust. Someone's going to bite the dust on that Hurricanes roster and hit the road. So it's going to be real interesting to see how this scholarship situation works out, who stays and who goes heading into the spring and into the fall. But, make sure to check out all the amazing stories by myself, Matt Shodell, and Steven Wagner.
By the way, Steve, I just want to let you know, Steven, I timed you on my phone while you were talking. I timed myself on my phone while I was talking. The video's at 34 minutes. You talked for 33 minutes and 18 seconds. All right? It's ridiculous. You wonder why you can't speak.
It's New Year's, same rivalry. We love to see it.
You want to marry me? Is that your ring finger? What is it? I don't know. Is that some weird, like, something you do out in New Mexico? Like, what is that, a Lobos thing? What is that? I don't even know what that is. Were you trying to give me the middle finger, but it was like you didn't want to give me the middle finger?
I was giving you the middle finger, but I was trying to keep it friendly for our younger listeners, for our younger viewers.
Like you were doing like a Beyonce thing where you're like, one of these things.
Oh.
I don't think I've ever done that.
Put a ring on it. If you want to put a ring on it, Steven, you could ask my wife. I don't think she'll be too happy about it. So we get her in here, and you could ask her for my hand in marriage, because that's what it looked like you wanted to do.
Izubee, end the show.
Yeah, we went from last year to a fight in the Hooters parking lot to a marriage between Matt. So we'll end it on that note.
The good news for you, Steven, is nobody watches the show, and nobody certainly watches it to the end, so you don't have to worry about it.
That's a great point.
No one will see you propose to me on Good Morning CaneSport this morning, so it's fine.
If you did make it this far, thank you for watching. For Steve Wagner, Matt Shodell, I'm Izubee Charles. Have a great rest of your day.